Hello. I told you earlier that I will be coming with a series of uh, videos, small videos on questions of comparative politics, but maybe later also on India's foreign policy, that is to be. As I told you earlier, that many serious candidates and efficient candidates also tell me very often that paper 2 does not give enough number in spite of sincerity. And in my previous video, I have already given some hints. Maybe under the pressure and tension and anxiety, even a serious person may be doing some mistakes in understanding the demands and expectations of the questions, and therefore the answer is not becoming so focused, and it loses strength and quality, and therefore number goes down. And if it happens in several answers, then definitely a possibility of number going down is very high. Today I am taking two questions, one from 2016 and another from 2023. I am taking this gap because 2016 is little earlier, and then 2023 is comparatively very contemporary. And I am trying to show you that even 10 years before how the questions was, and after 7 years when 23 a question came on the subject of comparative politics, though they are phonetically sound almost similar, but answers will not be similar. The question that came in 2016 was critically examine the functionalist and system approaches to the study of international relations. That came in 2016. And the next question, in what ways does the functionalist approach in international relations help in maintaining peace and order in global politics? That question came in 2023. Now, the first question is what? First question is about functionalist and system approaches. So, who has worked extensively on that? Mostly system theorists. Among them, Gabriel Almond has worked extensively in 1960s along with his companion called Brigham Powell, and it is known as Almond Powell team. Gabriel Almond has discussed about structural functional theory. And there he says that within political system, there are various institutions, various structures. They have followed that David Easton system approach, like input-output model. Almond argued that there are formal structures like legislature, executive, judiciary. But there are a lot of other structures, as I said. There are social structures, cultural structures, and there are many other kind of institutions or agencies like pressure groups, like political parties. So Almond include all of them, and he said that all of them have specific role to play, and they contribute also in a different manners in the behavior development of a political system. All those roles, all those functions together is the function and role of the political system. That is what is structural functional theory. What Almond and Powell tried to argue that there are different kind of political system, huge diversity across the world, but these particular system will be applicable to all kind of political system, whether it is advanced industrial society, developing society, capitalist economy or socialist economy, or global south or global north. This has an universal appeal. So that universality that they emphasize upon in the context of international relations or world politics or comparative politics. Since political systems have developed much earlier than the advanced industrial societies, therefore their institutional mechanism, institutional arrangement will be more complex in nature. While developing societies, they have much late they have emerged in international politics, and they have just developed their political system. Many of them are still in the process of giving it proper shape. Therefore, their institutional arrangement will be much simpler. That way, the contribution of institutions in more complex societies and more simpler societies will be different. But at the same time, institutional functioning always will be multifaceted. All institutions will be multifunctional. They don't function only on one subject matter, but also they have contribution to many other areas. Therefore, these institutional functioning are mutually overlapping in nature. That is what will be the subject matter in this question. Now go to the second question. Second question says, what ways does the functionalist approach in international relations help in maintaining peace and order? Now this also again talks about functional, but this functionalist approach and structural functional approach are two different things. While structural functional approach originates in Talcott-Parsons' sociological understanding and then comes to system approach of Davidson, functionalist approach carries the tradition of liberal approach. This is, coming originally from a 19th century economist come activist come and philanthropist come a scholar called Richard Cobden. He first time said that state is not essential to understand always the relations between different countries or different nations. That time only Europe existed, therefore his focus was on Europe. Based on Europe, he said that, postal service. Postal service connects people of different countries of Europe, and that creates a social connectivity. State may not have much role in that. So, similarly, Cobden, being an advocate for free market, also said that market has its own way of functioning and state may not be able to regulate it properly. Therefore, there are several institutions which function without state. It can be community, that can be institutions, that can be agency, and studying them is very important and they contribute hugely in the peace process. That is what Cobden said. Cobden died very early, and after that there was a huge gap. He died around 1864. You understand that world at that time. Then it was developed later after Second World War, first by Ernest Hus and then by David Mitrani. Ernest Hus worked very extensively on this in 1960s, and he said that beyond the state there are various institutions managed by respective elites, and these institutions have their own unique contribution in international peace process. He said that interaction and mingling between the actors of these institutions, which are often non-state actors, have a huge role to play in building a peace process in the world, and they remain a natural resistance to the possible conflict and war. That is what Ernest Hus tried to say. This is called piece by piece approach or functionalist approach. Through the functions, you contribute towards the peace building process. David Mitrani, again, contributed towards that little later than Ernest Hus, but also in a little different way. David Mitrani, in a book in 1975, actually theorized it. And then in this theory, he actually established piece by pieces or an approach to develop peace in the world. And there he says that various state and non-state actors, they function equally importantly, significantly in developing relations between communities, between nations, transcending the national border or territorial demarcation among the states. these contributions of various actors need to be taken into account, and when you also give importance to them, then peace building process actually moves forward. Mitrani also said, therefore, these institutions, these agencies, these different actors need to be given enough authority, and they must enjoy necessary freedom, liberty, so that they can function in a rational way, logical way in the process of peace building. These little contributions are, in the view of David Mitrani, is called pieces. And these segmental contributions or processes, when they come together and makes a synergy, then a international peace possibility that arises or that enhances. In this approach, conventional concept of state sovereignty does not get or occupy absolute position like what Hobbes said. In this process, like liberal approach, state has limited capacity, state is a limited existence. And then various actors, they share the responsibility of making the world peaceful. In that, they also argue very strongly that market forces also need a lot of freedom. These process actually later on gave the strength to libertarian process of Robert Nozick and others. So they established this approach, functionalist approach, by expanding the scope and opportunity of human freedom across the world. You may understand that though phonetically both the questions sound functionalist, or functional, but they are two distant subject matters, and they maintain two distant approaches. One is from system approach, another is from liberal approach. If you or anybody makes a mistake in this, then that answer will fail to fetch expected marks. This can be a reason, I am not sure, but I am just sharing. Thank you very much. Wait for the next video to come.